Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and today we're going to have a look at the all the usual computer models, having a look at what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. Now, the cold theme is still happening in the model output. We're still looking very cold over the next couple of weeks. It's looking colder even on Monday, Tuesday now. Maybe not necessarily in snowfall, but still looking quite cold, and it's going to be remaining cold for the foreseeable future. And we'll run through the GFS run now. So we've got a bit of a northerly wind tonight. We've had a northerly wind today. We've had a few showers move around. A couple of them were quite maybe wintry and snowy this morning. Maybe a light snowfall flurry here or there in the south. But generally, it's with like a milder wedge of air with higher dew points. So it's mostly going to be falling with rain this afternoon. Any of those showers as they move further south. Beyond that, high pressure does build to our north, so it does cut off the showers quite a lot over course of Saturday. But as we move into Sunday, you can see sort of an easterly wind sets up with high pressure to our north, and we start to go in a bitterly cold easterly wind, feel bitterly cold, especially further south and east. The upper air's getting around to -8, -9 degrees now, and we'll look at that in the ensemble members in a minute. And they are getting quite cold. However, the dew points are still not quite above. They're not quite below freezing, especially in the east. We're going to see a lot of showers packing into the east. However, most of the colder dew points are further west. So it's where that balance is, where the colder dew points meet the showers. Because the showers won't make it too far inland, maybe towards the Midlands, central southern England, and northern parts. Seem it's sort of the western extent of the showers. At the moment, at least, there could be some features that develop further towards the time. But at the moment, it's where that dividing line is. We could see some snowfall. But at the moment, a lot of people are still forecasting rain, sleet, and snow. With where the snow will fall is still quite uncertain at the moment. But beyond that, we continuing pulling in bitterly cold easterly wind. It's going to feel very cold under that, even though it may not be snowing as such, but raining. And you see very cold temperatures coming up. But you see it's because it's the sort of southeasterly airflow. It does cool down over the continent. That's why we have quite cold upper airs. On the surface, it's still a little bit milder, but it'll still feel very nippy coming off that across the east coast over the North Sea. Beyond that, we see this low pressure, and a couple of the model runs have had that slipping further south. It's still a bit uncertain what's going to happen with that. But on this current run, it stays further north, regains more energy, and then slips south next weekend. Before that, though, we do remain in fairly chilly air, but as more high pressures towards us, we do start to cut off the showers, especially further north and west, maybe further south and east with area of low pressure over Europe. We may still be pulling in some snow showers, maybe with a feature or two there, maybe enhancing that. But again, it's too far away to make any statements on that. It's just over a week away now. We've got very cold air to our north within an area of low pressure, and that's going to be plunging southwards on this current model run, pulling in very cold air, and that area of low pressure runs down the North Sea coast and could be providing some very significant snowfall with that. The cold air does fade away as it does going across the warmer seas, but still will be very cold, with the dew points very low within that, the temperature very low within that, and I'd expect significant snowfall within that, especially for eastern coastal areas, or slightly further inland from eastern areas. Exactly where that track of that low pressure runs will decide how significant the snowfall is. But at the moment, that would be a big snowfall event, but it's still too far away to make any certain claims for that. Beyond that, the GFS does go westerly, which is very interesting to see. Pulls up a mild southwesterly. I very much doubt that's really going to happen. We keep seeing that cropping up in the GFS the last couple of days of the run, towards day 14. It does start to show westerlies coming in, but it stayed at day 14 for the last week. So I suspect it's just the model trying to break out of the blocking pattern too early, really. But with the sudden stratified warming coming along, I very much doubt that we'll be seeing at least this sort of plain westerly pattern. If I look at the GEM model, see what that's showing. We've got the cold northerly winds today. Goes more slack over the weekend, of course. Showers get cut off, and then we put in a brisk, cold northeasterly to easterly wind. Very cold upper airs on that as well. A bit more of a northeasterly tilt to that, so maybe that's pulling in a bit more of colder air from Scandinavia. So maybe a tad colder there with the GM. We do break away from that pattern as an area low pressure does plunge from the north. On this run, it does plunge instantly instead of sort of reinforcing. It does pull in much colder air around that. Could be providing some snowfall with that. Look at precipitation, or precipitation wraps around that. Again, there could be some snow within that, but again, we'll have to look at that near the time. Beyond that, high pressure remains out of the Atlantic, and we put on a brisk northerly wind. And by daytime, we've got bitterly cold air coming in from the northeast. And by day 10, we've got high pressure over the top of the country. It looks like it's trying to turn westerly again. However, it's not particularly a lot of energy in the Atlantic, so I suspect we might see a ridge go. There is ridging towards Scandinavia and towards Iceland at the moment. I suspect it will continue to ridge there and put in a easterly wind, and you see quite cold air over Europe, Scandinavia, which is hopefully we'll see more of these darker blues move towards Scandinavia, and that will mean any of these sort of features running from the north or northeast will be a little bit colder, and so hopefully we'll see that in the model output coming out soon. Lastly, we'll have a look at the Ecmwf. Now the Ecmwf, it has the easterly wind coming in, again very cold easterly wind, and then we've got that low pressure plunging southwards with quite cold air within it, so maybe it's another snow event there. And we've still got a lot of cold air to our north, but the ice parts are not quite lining up to put it straight down towards the UK, unfortunately. And then we go into a very blocked phase with a big Greenland block, colder air moving in from Svalbard and Siberia. Again, that's more of the longer term that air might be coming towards us. But here we've got areas of low pressure moving around, got cold air aloft, cold air on the surface, and where these little areas of low pressure moisture bumps into this cold air, we could be seeing significant snowfall with that. But again, it's quite uncertain given big mild sectors and where those areas of low pressure align. Again, very different model outputs at day 10. All showing by day 10, it's still remaining fairly blocked and cold. Beyond that, the GFS are showing it may be going a bit milder, but again, I wouldn't take that literally, considering it's very uncertain with the sun stratospheric warming, and that maybe have not totally fed through the models yet, so we'll have to have a look at that nearer the time. We'll have a look at the GFS upper airs and precipitation. You can see not too many precipitation spikes the next week. Still a bit of precipitation around that could fall as snow at certain times. This is London, remember, so we are feeding in from that easterly wind. Beyond that, a lot of precipitation spikes around, but nothing too significant at the moment. And it's staying generally very cold for the next 12 days. 13th of January is still -5, ice firm. We get that -7, -8, and it has been going a bit colder, getting maybe down to -9 maybe, with that easterly wind come 4th, 5th January. Beyond that, it raises up a little bit to around -5, but again, that will still feel very cold, potentially, and temperatures only being around maybe 1, 2, 3 degrees in the day. Beyond that, we have a few ensemble members going a bit milder, and a couple ensemble members, quite a few ensemble members going even colder. A couple even getting down to -10, which would be bitterly cold. Beyond that, just raise up a little bit, but never really gets above average, and the majority of ensemble members are remaining below average for the next 10 to 14 days. So a very long time, and some going very cold indeed with that. If we have a look at the snow images, you can see there's a lot of small snow spikes next week, potentially with those easterly winds providing showers. Again, it's difficult to model on GFS, it's not a short-range model, so it's difficult to model with little individual showers and little features coming in. So maybe those could be more enhanced, or could just be falling as rain. But again, it'll be interesting to see what happens then. For the 7th, 8th of January, we've got a lot of snowfall spikes, and a couple going very big indeed, and quite a few going more 4, 5, 6, and then one going around 15, 16 centimetres. That could be a snow event there. It's probably one of those little areas of low pressures moving around, and that area of low pressure plunging from the north. So we could be seeing some significant snow there. But again, it's too far out. It's about a week away. It's too far out. And again, if we want to say there's definitely going to be a snow event, you've more got to look maybe a day or two in advance. not really a week. If we have a look at the 2 meter temperatures, you can see generally not really getting above 5 degrees in the day, and the GFS does normally overreg the temperatures a little bit. Normally maybe a degree or so colder. So with these boats going down to 1 degree at night, it's normally around freezing or maybe a little bit colder. And then where it's 2 or 3 degrees, may only get out to 1 or 2 degrees. Remember, yesterday was an ice day, in fact, in parts of London. Out of central London, it was an ice day, only reaching minus 0.5 degrees as the high, even though the GFS was forecasting around 2 degrees. So it just shows you what small sort of microclimate features can do to the temperature. So don't take these literally, but just a general trend of being quite cold and potentially cold enough for snow at times, and quite often probably will be likely to be sleety, snowy conditions. Just need that precipitation now. If we have a look at the dew point is around freezing, so that's what I mean by it's likely to be snow conductive air. Not definite, as long as the dew point's below freezing, it could fall to snow. When it falls above freezing, that's where we might start to see some sleety, rainy stuff coming in, unfortunately. But generally, it looks a lot of them, some members are going below freezing, and generally where we've got that maybe potential snow event, 7, 8, it looking like the majority are going below freezing at the moment. But again, just something we need to keep an eye on. Lastly, we'll have a look at the sudden stratospheric warming that's happening right now above the North Pole. This is 6 o'clock on the 1st of January, of course, and as we run through, these warm temperatures are moving into the Arctic. Minus 10 degrees, which is very warm for 10 HPA above the North Pole. And we do start to see a split in the polar vortex, which we weren't seeing in the model output. That's just come out in the last couple runs, really. We're seeing a split in the polar vortex. It's not like a completely defined split, but it is a split in 2 lobes of the split. As the temperature's going out to minus 50, minus 40 between the 2 lobes of colder than average temperatures and low pressure. And if we run into a longer term, hopefully we'd see these orange colours break through, but again, it's not showing that at the moment. But again, it's around 4th, 5th of January where you see these dark colours get right above the North Pole, just to the north really of Svalbard there, the North Greenland, that's where the North Pole is, and that's where those very warm temperatures are getting to, and will be defined as a sudden stratospheric warming. It does look like that split does not last particularly long, and it does combine back together, but it's a displaced polar vortex, so it's over the top of Europe and the UK. That doesn't mean anything necessarily down on the surface, the polar vortex moving there as such, but it generally shows it's displaced, so the zonal winds will be reversed. And beyond that, if we continue to run through, I'll go through these a bit quicker, you see a bit more of a warming potentially, and then we see another potential split in the polar vortex, and it's looking very weak, and then we see a full, well-defined split, in fact, with those orange colours getting in between, maybe even a 3-way split, and it's looking like when the stratosphere and the polar vortex should be near its optimum strength, end of December, start of January, it is obliterated by this sudden stratospheric warming. So that's very significant conditions there. And lastly, we'll have a look at the zonal mean winds, and you can see that the GFS ensembles are the green, and the purple are the CFS model, which is a longer range model. And as you can see, the GFS is showing, and most of the CFS is showing very, very negative wind speeds. So it's a reversal of the zonal winds, getting to almost record levels for this date at least, and a couple of ensemble members are going even to potentially record lows, around minus 25, minus 30 meters per second, when it should be around 35, 40 meters per second. You can see there, that's where the strongest zonal winds are meant to be right now. In the longer run, it doesn't look like they're going to really recover too much until maybe end of January, early February, where they start to increase again, maybe to get around average by the start of February, mid-February. And then the CFS have them going well above average, potentially to record strength levels in March and April. But again, still very long range, so it's something to have a look at there. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. Hope you have a good new year. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video looking at these very cold and interesting patterns we're seeing soon.